Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leave on that levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We've got a good one. We've got Tampa Bay, and we've got Philadelphia. Tampa Bay coming into this one, 4 wins, 1 loss, only loss to the Rams, and a couple good wins on the docket for them as well. Eagles coming in at 2-3, although they've played a pretty tough schedule to this point. Losses to San Francisco, Kansas City, and Dallas. Nothing to be ashamed of, I would say.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, it's always fun when you get to watch Tom Brady. I think maybe 5 or 10 years ago I wouldn't have said that just because I hated him so much, but I think that Tom Brady has grown to the point where as a sports fan, you kind of just have to respect what he's done at this point. Like you can hate him, but I can't hate him now like I used to. Mm-hmm. Just have to respect the fact that he's the GOAT.
And I know you're excited also to watch Jalen Hurts play.
Yeah, we get Jalen Hurts on primetime. Jalen Hurts is an exciting young quarterback. Been a little up and down this year. I was probably a little bit too high on Jalen Hurts coming into the year. He's no Daniel Jones, but still, I mean, he's a guy who can make some plays with his arm and with his legs. So, should be a good one. And Tampa Bay's defense, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but it is an exploitable defense. I do think that we should expect to see Hurts making some plays.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm ready to hop right on into it.
Yeah, so just running through the chat real quick. I see we got O-Dog, need 3 fire props. We will be running through all the props. Hopefully we got some fire. TJ, we were a little bit late because we had to get a couple little new features set up that you may or may not see.
Yeah. And before we hop on into things, I have to apologize for my play on Monday. Hines receiving yards. Yeah, it was a tough. I don't even know if he had a catch.
Well, yeah. So both of us actually we fucked up a little bit on Monday.
Yeah,
because the Colts jumped out to a big lead, and that ruined the game flow that we were expecting to get.
Yeah. So that was tough.
It'd be like that.
It was also annoying because Hines, like on paper, that was a pretty solid handicap, I would say, and the projections were there. It just, I don't know what happened there. So.
Yeah, Larry, you say you need a schedule. These are the one streams. So like weekly, this is the one stream. This one and the Thursday one and the Sunday one that are always at the exact same time, unless we announce it ahead of time. Ben, I don't know what's going on with college football though, stream wise.
Oh yeah, We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. Okay.
Yeah.
I see we got Jake in the chat. Been a while. Howdy. Larry says she's hot. I have no idea.
Thank you, Larry. I'm actually a man, but
Ben is still hot.
Maybe he's talking about Alpha, the voice.
Or maybe yeah. Or maybe there was like an advertisement that Larry got.
Yeah. Did you guys know that's like a real person? It's not like a, I don't know,
It's
robotic.
I don't believe you. It sounds like an AI.
No, it 100% is real.
Sounds like an AI.
But you guys don't need to know. Does it make a difference? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
You identify as a man? Yes, I do. Larry.
And I see we got T-Vald in here as well. So hello to all of you. Hello to everybody else lurking. Let's hop in to the game. So we've got, like we said, 4-1 Tampa Bay going on the road to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, 7-point dogs at home. This one's been jumping around. So this has been 6.5. It's been 7. I don't think we've seen 7.5 this week, but I think that whenever it hits 6.5, a lot of money starts coming in on Tampa. But I think it's just settled at 7. So I've got a bunch of books up here because it was moving even right into the run-up to the stream. So we've got 7 and a total of 53 on PointsBet. 7 and a total of 52.5 on Superbook. 7 and 53 on DraftKings.
Back up to 7.
7 and 52.5 on FanDuel. So the 7 seems pretty unanimous at this point. Total, hopping back and forth. You can grab a 52.5 if you're looking for an over. If you're looking for an under, 53 is going to be the number that you can grab. I went ahead, though, and threw up 53 for the number that we have up on the stream.
Yeah, so I want to share where the money's going just because, it's interesting, especially because it's so one-sided in this spot. But the Eagles are not getting a lot of love here. Of course, Tampa Bay is getting a lot of the love, up to 90% of the bets and handle. But that, I will say, that was at 6.5. So I think at 7, it's probably, if I were to guess, it's going to be closer to 65, 70% roughly, right?
I would expect something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Key number, right? But Nick, I personally don't have a good feeling on this. I feel like it's a really tight number, and I'm not taking a side here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not all that interested in picking a side either.
And I can make a case for either team. It's funny, I can make a pretty strong case for each side here.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about with this one, even if we don't have strong opinions. So the model has Tampa Bay taking this game 27.45 to 18.13. So a little bit more than 9 points the model favors Tampa by. So from that perspective, the model does like Tampa Bay. Something that's interesting, though, is all of this talk that I've been seeing. It's like the stat of the week, apparently. Tom Brady in primetime games, 0-10 against the spread in his last 10.
He's garbage.
Yeah,
washed up.
Yeah, he's garbage. He's washed. He hasn't won a Super Bowl in months.
And Nick, before we even get deeper into that, I looked at it too because I'm like, all right, let's unpack this, right? Because people were literally betting Eagles off of that trend. And the biggest thing I found in that is like, okay, how is he playing in those games? And he's playing very well. I mean, maybe like a tad less than his performance, but it's literally almost the same. I think he has 33 touchdowns and 8 interceptions on Thursday Night Football. That was one easy metric that I looked up. And I think the biggest thing on why those games weren't being covered is because when he was with the Patriots, a majority of those games, the public almost over-adjusted for him and Belichick, right? Mm-hmm. Where, let's say in this scenario, they're getting like a 7.5, 8, and they win by 7, or they're getting a 10.5 and they win by 7. And I think in this game, I feel like at 7, you're not getting that same treatment, just from my perspective, if that makes sense. Like, if it was 7.5, I could see that same feel off of that trend, but I don't know. That's just me kind of thinking out loud with that trend.
Yeah, I don't put too much stock into the Tom Brady primetime not covering thing.
Yeah.
And
how many games were with Bucks? Maybe
probably 3 or 4, if I had to guess. I'm sure they got a lot of primetime last year.
I guess Monday. So this is Monday, Sunday. Probably
and
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We'd have to look back, but yeah, again, he's not playing bad in those games. So I think that's like a big... It would be one thing if he was playing bad, and I think you could make more of a case. But I think if he's playing well, then you have to think about, well, is this number where it should be at 7? So
yeah. So something I think also that's a little bit interesting is the Eagles' spread performance this year. So 5 games they've been underdogs in 4 of the 5, I think. Or is it all 5? No, they've been underdogs in all 5 games that they've played this year. They've either won outright or failed to cover every single time. So they haven't won without cover. They haven't lost without covering. So they had a 20-point loss to Dallas where they didn't cover because they were not 20-point underdogs in that game. They had a 12-point loss to Kansas City that they did not cover. They had a 6-point loss to San Francisco, but they were only 3.5-point dogs. So they failed to cover there. And then on the flip side, they were 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, depending on when in the week you got it. 3 and 3.5 closing line point favorites to Atlanta and Carolina when they won those games outright.
In that Cowboys game, Cowboys were favored by, I think, 5.5.
That was 3.5. It closed out for the Cowboys.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, looking back, I'm like, it should have been 5.5, but at the time, it's not how it works. But.
No, not quite.
Yeah. You retroactively like go back and say like, hey,
yeah, I think the point spread there should have been 22.
That's
or
funny.
21.
Season long points betting.
Yeah,
spread betting.
Exactly.
You have like 5 points you can put on. Hey, who knows? Someone will probably do that. It'll be an idea.
Yep, it is an idea. Is it a good one?
Nick, I wanted to say for this game, the 2 arguments I can make for the cover on teams. For the Bucks, I was very impressed on how they tore up the Dolphins defense, right? Like they had them on their heels. That was an embarrassment. They made them look like one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and they're not a bad defense. This game, I could see the Bucks being up 14, even 17. But the flip side of that is the Eagles, the back door, I think, is going to be open in this one because of the passing D for the Bucks, which has struggled.
Yes, it has.
So, yeah, it really has, which is crazy because their rush defense could go and break a record, apparently, for the least yards allowed in a season, even though there's an extra game.
Yeah, I mean, they've allowed 198 rushing yards to running backs all season.
Yeah, 5 games.
In 5 games. And then only 13 rushing yards to quarterbacks.
Yeah, which I'm very curious your thoughts on Jalen Hurts when we get to that. Anyways, Nick, after saying all that, I actually lean under, and that's a lean. I'm not betting it. But the reason why is because we were chatting about this, and I just feel like the Eagles aren't going to try to take advantage of the passing defense like other teams have. I think they're going to still try to get Jalen Hurts involved. More balanced than you would expect, even with that rush D. And I think that's just going to be the difference. It's going to be a tight spread or a tight total, but I could see this going under, so that's my lean.
Yeah, I lean the under as well. And the model definitely likes the under here. So you've got this one at 45.58 points. So that's an under by like 7.5 points or so. We're getting to the point in the season where we are starting to have a decent amount of data on the model. So when it likes unders by at least 4.5 points, we're looking at an 8-4 record. So just kind of blindly from that perspective, I do kind of have to lean the under. Mm-hmm. I think that Philadelphia is going to be willing to air the ball out early and often, which is the only way that you can have success against the Bucs. We saw it against Kansas City a couple weeks ago. Was it a recipe for a win? or a cover? No, it was not. They got blown out in that game because they couldn't stop Kansas City's offense. But Jalen Hurts threw for nearly 400 yards in that game, because that's another defense that is exploitable in that way.
Yeah.
So
Nick, the big thing in this one is going to be the red zone, because they're going to get in the red zone. It's what they do. If they can score touchdowns, right, not field goals, touchdowns. I think that's the difference between a over and an under here in this game, because they're going to get in those positions, and that's going to be a big. I mean, I know that's kind of easy to say, right? Oh, if they score in the red zone, right? But I do expect them to cross midfield quite a bit in this game. It just comes down to, turnovers on that side of the field, and then, what do they do in those 4th and 2, 4th and 3 type plays, situations?
Yeah. I mean, and if we're looking at a total of 53, right, you need touchdowns in those situations. Every single one of those possessions that ends in a field goal and not a touchdown is 4 points off the board.
You'll take 1 or 2, right, maybe, but then if it's, I don't know, maybe 2's pushing it, but then you get to the position where you're like, okay, how long was the drive, right? If it's a 7-minute drive, results in 3 points, it's not a good pace.
Yeah, so 53 points, if you want to put it in terms of touchdowns and field goals, you either need 7 touchdowns and 4 field goals. So that's 42 points from 7 touchdowns. No, 6 touchdowns. 42 points from 6 touchdowns, and then 12 points from 4 field goals to put it at 54 to go over. Or if you want a 7th touchdown, you need 7 touchdowns and 2 field goals.
Yeah.
So if we start to hit that point where we're looking at a higher number of field goals as opposed to a lower number of field goals, it's going to be tough, because all those are possessions that they're not scoring touchdowns on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So do we want to put a? Well, actually, is that correct? That stat, Walter?
I don't know if that stat is correct. Is that the total leans that we've had on the stream? I haven't actually been keeping track of the stream leans.
They've been pretty good. I don't know about last week though, but the weeks before.
I think last week was still fine, even though the official picks kind of stunk.
Yeah, that would have been a really good drop for the audio, Nick.
What audio?
The clip.
Yeah. So what we were working on, why the stream was a little bit late today, is we're working on a little soundboard. So like if Ben gives a really bad take, or if Ben gives a really good take.
Yeah, that makes me feel good inside, that one. That one that makes me sad.
Yeah, so we've got that. We've got this.
At this time, I'm going to ask you to fasten your seatbelts.
So if we got a hot take,
yeah,
time to fasten the seatbelts. Oops, I didn't want to do that again. If we got an underdogs, like if we like the Eagles today, we could have thrown on one of these. Dogs barking, but
don't worry, we'll have some dogs for Sunday.
Oh yes, we will.
I got a dog.
And then if we have,
I got a hot take on Sunday, by the way.
Oh,
tight
boy.
end prop. Ooh.
But yeah, if we have a bad beat or something sad.
God, that's just a
great little sound clip.
Yeah, that's a hard. Yep, but hey, yeah. So if you have any ideas on some other sound bites, we're also thinking about putting in some fun clips from maybe some movies. It has to fit, right? We're not going to try to just, and maybe some. We'll put it this way: popular faces on social media in the sports betting space, not face, voices, right?
Yep.
So,
All kinds of
anyways,
stuff.
for leans, Nick.
Yeah,
What are we thinking,
I think
under?
I'm happy to just throw up the under.
Yeah, let's do under. I feel like that's 53 points. That's a bit, and
Yeah, I agree.
it's gonna be close though. I think it's gonna come down to last 2 possessions, but I'm happy with a lean for
Yeah.
the under.
I think the under lean is pretty good. So let's take a look at some player props. So as always, we're going to start it off with passing props. And Novita, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Or ma'am.
Or ma'am.
We're not here to assume.
Yeah, Larry.
So we've got Jalen Hurts over under 282.5. Tom Brady over under 301 and a half. Again, with these player props, they can vary a little bit depending on the book. Those were numbers from PointsBet. Superbook has Tom Brady at 302.5 and Hurts at 280.5. But in that 300 range and in the 280 range for these two guys. So as we can see on the screen, the model has Hurts right around 260, which I think is a touch low, but that is a little bit of an under lean from the model. And we've got Brady 297.1. So again, a very, very, very small under lean from the model. And that shouldn't be so surprising because we think that this is going to go, or the model thinks that this game is going to go under by 7.5, 8 points. And if that's the case, I think we should expect to see passing yardage numbers go under as well. But Ben, what are your opinions on either of these?
I'm torn on Hurts. I don't have a strong opinion on that one. Tom Brady. 301. I kind of lean under there a little bit. And the reason being is I think if they're up, right? And this is dangerous, but I do expect them to be up. I think in the fourth quarter they're just going to hand it off to Fournette and Jones.
Yeah.
That's kind of I feel like that's kind of a square angle, but
yeah. Well, so do you know it's not a square angle? Using data.
That's very true.
So the Eagles have played 5 games this year. In all of those games, there's been quarterbacks who's thrown the ball against them. So we have some comparables.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1. This is a big Eagles win, remember. Matt Ryan, 21 of 35 for 164 yards. Week 2. In a pretty messy game against San Francisco, Eagles ended up losing it by 6. Jimmy Garoppolo, 22 of 30, 189 yards. Week 3 against the Cowboys. This is the game that the Cowboys won 42-21. Dak Prescott, 21 of 26 for 238. Week 4 against the Chiefs. This is a game that the Chiefs won by a score of 42-30. Patrick Mahomes was 24 of 30 for 278. It's the highest passing total that the Eagles have allowed this year. And then last week against the Panthers, in a game that the Panthers lost, Eagles ended up winning that, coming from behind 21-18. Sam Darnold, 21 of 37 for 177. So 3 of 5 games, the Eagles have allowed under 200 yards to the opposing quarterback. And then adding on top of that, 238 to Dak, 278 to Mahomes. So they haven't allowed a quarterback to go over this number. And that includes some quite potent passing attacks.
Yeah, Mahomes.
Yeah.
Pretty potent to me. Okay, so question. In that Chiefs game, I semi-recall, because I was watching some of it, did they just look to run in the fourth? Or was it a combination of the Eagles actually playing some good defense, the passing game?
It was a lot of running. Chiefs ran the ball 32 times for 200 yards.
Yeah, because the Chiefs put up 30-ish, right?
They put up 42.
42. There you go. Okay.
But I think that this just aligns with what you were thinking. I think if the Eagles are going to be up, it's because the defense is playing well. I don't think that the Eagles beat the Bucs in a shootout. And if the Eagles are behind, it's been a successful recipe from Kansas City, who ran, again, the ball 32 times for 200 yards. It was a successful recipe from Dallas, 41 carries for 160 yards in their 20-point win against the Eagles. So teams are happy to run the ball and have success running the ball against the Eagles if they're up. And I think Tampa is another team that is very well equipped to do that. So I'm with you. I like this Brady under.
And it's climbing, so I'm happy with that.
Jalen Hurts is an interesting one. So the Buccaneers' pass defense has been much maligned this year, at least partially just because the run D is so good. But quarterbacks throwing the ball against the Bucs. Dak Prescott, week 1, 403 yards. Matt Ryan, week 2, 300 yards. Matt Stafford, week 3, 343. And the last 2 weeks against two pretty mediocre bad quarterbacks, Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett, 275 apiece. And that Jones game had some weather.
Yep.
So quarterbacks have thrown the ball quite well against Tampa.
So you're leaning over, or you feel confident enough to maybe fire that up personally?
No, I think that this 280 number is too high for Hurts. All of that said, if this was sitting at 265, I think that I'd be all over the over. I just think that 280, like if the Bucs do run the ball and chew clock,
yeah, good point.
I think there's just not going to be enough volume for Hurts to hit this. Because all of these quarterbacks are looking at minimum across the 5 games, 38 pass attempts against the Bucs. So on that note, though, I am a little bit curious. I haven't looked at this number yet, but Jalen Hurts pass attempts 37 and a half. It's here somewhere. Oh, I guess. Oh wait, no, that's longest completion.
What was the longest?
37 and a half.
For
Hurts. Yeah, pass attempts also at 37 and a half.
And we have it at 41.
41.9. Yeah, that could be an interesting look. That over. I mean, the Eagles have been quick to abandon the run already this year. I think Miles Sanders fantasy owners are pretty upset with their draft pick.
Hey, I could have told you that. He was a guy that I was like, I don't know. Because when you have a running quarterback, I think initially it kind of devalues the running backs. So.
But yeah, I think if I were to look at a Jalen Hurts passing over, I'd be a little bit more interested in this pass attempts over 37 and a half as opposed to the yardage.
Okay. You know what? I might fire up the Tom Brady under, though.
Yeah, I think the Tom Brady under looks like the best one here.
It feels good. Also, real quick, Nick, there was a $330,000 bet on the Eagles on DraftKings +7. I wanted to ask the chat this question. Do you guys care about seeing that stuff, or is it just kind of like, whatever? Very curious. I don't really care, but...
Yeah, and then I guess a second related question is, do you put any stock into it?
That's actually what I'm getting at, no. Right? Because,
well, yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, like, is it interesting to even hear about it in the first place? Is one question.
Maybe, but, okay, like, oh, there's a $330,000 bet on the Eagles. I'm going to bet the Eagles. Like, no.
See, Larry, seeing massive bets that people have placed.
Yeah, like when they're like, we have a $500,000 bet on the under or whatever. But anyways, I'm ready to talk about some running backs and receivers.
All right.
Mainly running backs.
On the rushing end of things, and on the Eagles side, start out there. We've got Jalen Hurts over under 38 and a half rushing yards. Kenneth Gainwell, ya boy, over under 14 and a half rushing yards. And Miles Sanders, over under 34 and a half rushing yards.
I think I like both of the unders for the Eagles running backs, Nick. Is that square?
I think taking a starting running back's rushing prop under 34.5 is not square. Just inherently.
Yeah, I'm getting,
But
I'm overthinking the squareness of these.
I mean,
In my head they're square, but to
at the
public,
same
they'd be
time,
like, no.
last week, Dolphins running backs, they literally, the last 2 weeks combined against the Patriots, running backs have had 13 carries.
Yeah. Okay.
Against the Bucks. Patriots running backs 6 carries for -4 yards. Dolphins 7 for 30, split between Gaskin and Ahmed.
Okay, so if I had to pick one of these guys, I think I'm going with Gainwell.
I was going to say the exact same thing. And it's Ben, so I think maybe you learned from my McKissick prop that I tried to talk you into last week against the Saints.
I didn't.
Because
that doesn't affect this.
It's the same thing.
It is,
It's
but
the same
it doesn't
prop.
affect it. It didn't affect it. Good call though. If it hit, I don't track.
He had 2 carries for -1 yards.
Against it was the Saints, right?
Yeah, it was against the Saints. And it was like a number 2 back against a great run D.
Real quick,
14.5 was the number.
Let me share why I like Kenneth Gainwell. Besides what we already mentioned, the last game he had 2 carries, I think, against the Panthers. Is that right?
Let me look.
I believe
real quick.
that's what I have. I mean, I wrote it down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you didn't. Yeah, 2 carries for 16
Yeah.
yards for Gainwell.
Just seems like it's too easy to go with the under here, right?
Yeah.
Like, but okay, and here's the thing that does worry me, Nick. I do expect Gainwell to be on the field quite a bit in this one. So I actually think this will happen. I don't know how many yards he'll get, but there will be like a passing drive where they try to catch them off guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that the Bucs defense is insane up front for the run. So, but if he breaks one, it literally could be 1 carry. Because Gainwell, he has that ability. Nick.
But
He
do
does.
you like you don't break one like that against the Bucks?
I know, but okay. So here's what I'm getting at. Let's say it's like a 4 or 5 minute situation, right? And Gainwell's just on the field, right? He's in the passing formation. They're kind of hurrying it up. It's like 2nd and 2, 2nd and short. It's going to come down to something like that if this hits or not. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
But I'm still on board with the under. I'm just saying, like, he's going to be on the field quite a bit, I think, in this game. I would say my guess is even more so than the Chiefs, snap-wise. I think he's going to be on the field quite a bit in this game.
it's possible. I mean, it's not like Sanders is an inept receiving back. He's
That's
quite
true.
good in his own right. And also, I think that having less carries is actually going to keep Sanders on the field a little bit more.
Just to get him involved.
Well, just because he'll be fresh, right? He's not going to be tired. So it's
Yeah,
not like
that's
he
true.
needs to be rotated out. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like what we've seen against the Buccaneers this year.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys in week 1, Tony Pollard, who they've had involved in the offense quite a bit all year, only had 3 carries. The Falcons, they gave Cordero Patterson 7 compared to Mike Davis's 9. But the Rams, Jake Funk, number 2 back, got 1 carry. Patriots, number 2 and number 3 back, each got 1 carry. And last week, the Dolphins, number 2 back, got 2 carries. And this is a lot of teams that, I mean, not the Rams, but the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Patriots for sure. And the Falcons actually executed on this against the Bucs. But are all teams that like to incorporate the secondary backs quite a bit into their offense. And in the running game, at least, they didn't. We've seen a lot of those guys be very involved in the passing game, but not in the running game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I lean both the unders for both running backs, to be real.
I agree. And I'm with you that I like the Gainwell under even more. I think that he probably caps out at like 3 or 4 carries max.
That's a ceiling. Yeah, that's
a ceiling.
I would be shocked if he goes for 4 to 5. I mean, what does the model have it at?
What does the model have it at? The model has
I feel like it was 4, right?
Gainwell at 2.95 carries for 10.5 yards.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that too.
Like that.
I think that's totally reasonable.
What
I
about
don't.
Hurts?
What about Hurts? So
I don't know about this.
yeah, so the model has a tendency to underestimate rushing quarterbacks. The Buccaneers, they haven't really faced a good running quarterback this year. I mean, so Dak hasn't been running the ball. I think he's just trying to avoid putting himself in a situation where he can hurt his leg again. So he hasn't really been running the ball this year. Matt Ryan is old and slow. Matt Stafford is not quite as old, but just as slow. And then Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett, also not super active running quarterbacks. So, I mean, against quarterbacks here, the Buccaneers have allowed 9 carries for 13 yards. And all 13 of those yards came from Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts is a different animal. He's a very good runner. And we're expecting him to drop back quite a bit. Although I do really think that it's just going to be through the air. Like, there's not going to be much of a reason for him to run the ball. Because I think that there are going to be open guys.
It won't be because of design runs. It could be rollouts and scrambles, but I don't see them doing as much read option type stuff.
Yeah, because I mean it's just
the Keith of the Bucks D.
Yeah, right? It's just ineffective. It's not a winning combination to even try it. Mm-hmm. So I would probably lean the under on Hurts. Probably would bet it though.
Yeah.
So, on the Bucs side, we've got Leonard Fournette over under 62.5, and we've got Ronald Jones over under 19.5. Any thoughts on either of these guys?
Well, I like both the unders for the Eagles, so naturally I like both the overs for the Bucs. I actually kind of do, but mainly Fournette. I like his over. Jones, it worries me a little bit because I know they like to make sure Fournette gets touches. Mm-hmm. But I don't like that as much as the other two that we just mentioned. But
yeah, I'm with you. So the model, I think it's giving too many carries to Gio Bernard here. I don't think that Gio Bernard's going to get 4 or 5 carries. I guess it's possible, actually.
He might get 3 touches.
Well, I mean, he's been involved.
Well, they'll pass
this year in the passing game. Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 carries all season, so he's not going to get 4 today. Mm-hmm. And 15 catches. So looking at 4 touches a game for Gio. Mm-hmm. So we can take these 16 yards and throw them in, but still, the model's a little low on these guys. I think I'd put both of the Buccaneers rushing props right about where the Vegas numbers are.
Yeah.
I think 60 to 65 is good for Fournette. Jones, kind of hard to tell how much usage he'll get. So
right.
I don't really want to touch him at all. That's my thoughts there.
Yeah, I don't have too many strong opinions with the Bucs guys.
All right. On the receiving end of things, a lot of dudes, as always. Is there a team that you want to start with?
Eagles.
So we've got Devontae Smith over under 73.5. And actually, I'm going to move over to DraftKings for this. We can fit more on the screen. We've got a Devontae Smith over under 75.5 on DraftKings. Mm-hmm. Jalen Reagor 38.5. Kenneth Gainwell 24.5. Miles Sanders 24.5. Quez Watkins 41.5. Zach Ertz 42.5. So there's somebody that you like here, and I'm assuming it's a back receiving over.
He went to the University of Memphis. Kenny G, the best Kenny G in football.
Is that so?
It is now. Yeah, I like his over quite a bit.
So why do you like this over?
Kind of based off of what I said with the game script. Also, they're looking to get him touches. He's been pretty consistent. And then I believe it was the Bucks versus who was it? Let's see. Well, I'll put it this way: running backs against the Bucks have seen success receiving the ball.
Yeah, they have. So these number 2 backs, which I think is what the type of comparison we're looking at for Gainwell. Tony Pollard, 4 catches on 4 targets for 29 yards. Cordero Patterson, 5 catches on 7 targets for 58 yards. If you consider him a running back, I don't know if he quite fits into the comparison. Rams were winning, so they didn't really use the number 2 back at all.
And what's his face got hurt in that game too, I think. Oh no, that was another game.
Yeah, that was another game. It was Sonny Michel got like all of the volume.
But was Henderson even in that game?
No, Henderson was out.
Yeah. Okay.
The Patriots, Brandon Bolden, 6 catches on 6 targets for 51 yards. And then Salvan Ahmed, 2 catches on 3 targets for 16 yards. Plus, Myles Gaskin in that game also had 10 catches on 10 targets for 74.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Gainwell, I think I've been talking about him before the season even started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike Larry says you're very loyal to your player.
I am, and he's been looking good. But I think this is just a great spot where you know what it reminds me of, Nick? Do you remember Cam Akers last year? Remember that?
Yeah, you were on the Akers breakout before it happened.
Thursday night game, boom, breakout game, and then the rest was history. So I think Gainwell 24.5. But Nick, what about the over 4 receptions? I mean, they're so correlated, obviously. Like, I think if he gets 4 catches, I think he goes over. Do you think one's better than the other?
So Gainwell over 3.5 receptions plus 110. I will say though, I think that this receiving number is a little bit too high for Gainwell.
The yards.
The yards. Okay. And the catches. So Gainwell's only had 1 game where he's gone over this number of catches. Mm-hmm. Out of 5. He's had 2, 3, 6, and 1. In the game where he got 3 catches, he also went over the yardage number. But in that game and in the 6-catch game for 58 yards against Kansas City, we're looking at like 10 yards a catch for him. And I think that's too much. I think for a running back, that's kind of unsustainable yards per catch.
You're right. I mean, he's probably going to regress a little bit.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm thinking that even if he gets the volume in the passing game receptions-wise, so I do, to answer your ultimate question, I think I like the receptions more than the yards. Because I think it takes 4 or 5 catches for him to hit the yardage. And I think you're counting on the Eagles being down multiple scores down the stretch. So I don't think you can like this without also liking something involving Tampa Bay covering over, maybe even over an earlier time frame in the game. But it just feels so game flow dependent. Like Gainwell does not hit these receiving stuff if it's a close game.
Or if Eagles win or up.
Yeah. It's like a 0% chance.
Okay, but Nick, I'll put it this way. If you were to compare one defense that they've faced all season to this Bucks defense, probably the Chiefs, right?
I mean, in a sense, the past defenses are similar. The difference is that the Bucks run D is impeccable, and the Chiefs run D is also beatable.
And in that game, Nick, he had 3 rushes for 31 yards against Kansas City, and then he had 6 catches for 58. So I guess if you're looking at it the way I am, maybe this is just picking and choosing, but I'm like, well, if they're going to neutralize his running ability, then let's say 3 of those rushes turn to an extra 1.5, 2 catches, or you know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna get the touches, just even more so out of the backfield as a receiver. So that's what I'm kind of banking on in this one.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know that he's going to get the touches. I mean, he's had 2 games this year with 5 touches.
But I think you helped me make up my mind that I like the receptions more than the yards.
Yeah, I think the yards number is too high.
Because you get one screen pass that goes for negative 2 yards. That's a catch.
Yeah, it's a catch.
It's a catch.
He's going to have 3 catches for 25 yards now. That's how it's going to work. That's actually, let's see what the model has for Gainwell. 2.7 catches for 18 yards. Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really like either of them.
What is Sanders at?
Sanders receiving 3 catches for 26 yards.
Which would be under, right?
That would be over.
Right.
Barely over.
24.5 too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They're just... Okay.
Yeah, so let's actually do a little comparison here. So Sanders, in the receiving game, against Gainwell, straight up. I am pulling these up on 2 different tabs over here so I can compare. In week 1, Sanders out-targeted, out-yarded Gainwell in the passing game. In week 2, Gainwell barely out-receptioned and out-targeted Sanders just by 1 apiece, and out-yarded him 18-4. Sanders out-yarded Gainwell 39-6 in week 1. In week 3 against Dallas, they both had 3 catches on 4 yards. Gainwell had 32. Sanders had 28 yards. So basically identical games. Week 4 against Kansas City. This was the big game for Gainwell, where he had 6 catches on 8 targets for 58 yards. In that same game, Sanders 3 on 3 for 34. And last week against Carolina, Sanders 5 catches on 5 targets for 6 yards, which is kind of wild. And Gainwell 1 catch on 3 targets for 8 yards. So Sanders has had more or the same number of targets in 4 of 5 games. Has had more receptions in 3 of 5 games. Has had, I guess, Gainwell has technically had more yards in 3 of the games. But I mean, we're looking at like an 8 over a 6 and a 32 over a 28. So those aren't like huge wins.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're looking at one of these yardage overs, it's kind of got to be Sanders. Especially considering the fact that Sanders isn't going to get a lot of volume on the ground. Like, I think he's the guy that they're going to look to incorporate in the passing attack. Just because they want to get the ball in his hands.
I mean, I like both of them.
Who do you think ends up with more receiving yards? Because the totals are literally the same.
Man, it's a coin flip to me.
I like Sanders.
Yeah. I think I'll put it this way. I think Gainwell has a higher ceiling in that aspect, where Sanders is more the consistent.
Maybe, I suppose. I'm curious.
We'll
I'm not going to look into it right now on stream, but I'm curious if Gainwell's performance against KC, where he had all those receptions, I wonder if that was just like one big drive for him. Because if that's the case, then it's not really it's not sustainable. It's not something that is going to happen again. Like if they were like in a hurry up drive where he had 4 catches, because that's not something to count on. But if it was spread out throughout the whole game, then it's more replicable. Anyways, running back receiving discussion out of the way. Anybody else that you're interested in?
Not really. I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover.
Okay. So model-wise, top guy that it has is actually Dallas Goedert, yardage-wise, at 42.5. Is Goddard even playing?
It's a good question.
I must have missed the news that Goddard was out. So that's not going to happen. So those yards get distributed to other people.
Also, Nick, I did look it up because I was curious. Gainwell's yards were pretty spread out throughout the game. I'm looking at the play-by-play. For whatever that's worth.
Okay, I mean that's a good sign for Gainwell. Why is Smith yards so low? That's an excellent question. Not entirely sure.
What is his receiving or receptions at?
So the model had Smith all the way down at like 5 catches for 36 yards, which, I mean, I don't know. Goddard being out certainly puts another catch and another 10 yards on Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So what has Smith done specifically this year?
Well, the last 2 games.
I think it's been a little boom and bust.
Yeah.
So, he's got 3 games with 70 plus, and he's got 2 games under 30. And so I think it's a little hard to tell what Smith is going to be at. I think I probably put Smith at like 45. So if this number is 74.5, a Devontae Smith under.
That's really high, though.
It does feel quite high.
Also, you have to consider, like, even though we understand that the Bucs defense has been bad in the passing game, but Eagles still have a lot of targets.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, put it this way: if Hurts is around 280, right, for his number, 75 yards from one guy is pretty significant. So,
yeah,
that's a lot of yards from one guy.
It is. There's a lot of yards for one guy, especially in an offense with so many options. So I'm actually curious right now. If we take all these Eagles passing yardage numbers and add them up, so you've got Smith at 74.5, Rager at 37.5. So those two give us 111, 112. Mm-hmm. Gainwell puts us at 135.5. No, 136.5. Sanders puts us at 161. Watkins puts us at 203.5. Ertz puts us at like 245. That's not a lot of wiggle room under that Hurts passing yard number.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm not suggesting a Nick special here on the unders, but I do think that some of these receiving yardage numbers are going to be a little bit inflated. They just feel like they have to be inflated.
What is Devontae Smith's reception number at?
Devontae Smith receptions is at 6.5.
That's tough.
Yeah,
he could be at 3 headed into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I just think overall the receivers and Hurts for the Eagles scare me. I think that there's a lot of room for just a massive passing game, and I think that there's a lot of room for a disappointing game. I think the running backs are where it's at. On the Bucs side, anything that you're interested in?
So Gronk's out again.
Yeah, Gronk is out.
Gronk's out. This has bit me in the butt a few times. Bit me in the butt.
It's boat
Me in the butt.
me in the boot.
Trying to play Antonio Brown under, because that's my lean, but
Yeah,
I gotta stay away.
I just hate dealing with the Buccaneers receivers.
Yeah.
Because like there's gonna be a guy who goes for 100 yards, and there's gonna be a guy who has 2 catches for 20 yards.
Yeah.
And you can see that with the model. It's just taking the middle ground for everybody. I mean, it's got Godwin and Evans and Brown all at like 4.5 to 5 catches for 52 to 58 yards. And I think at the end of the day, if you take all 3 of these guys and you add up their stats from the game, I think 15 catches for 150 yards is pretty much where they end up as a trio. It's not going to be 50, 50, 50. It's going to be like 100, 40, 10 or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of variance because that's just the way Tom Brady plays as a quarterback. Like, he's going to find the mismatches and figure out what's working. He's not in the business of trying to make everyone happy. Like, and that's the whole thing with Tom Brady and that offense and why he's the GOAT, because
Yep.
he'll find like Gronk some games. He'll go for 7 catches, 80 yards when his number was 3 for 35, right?
Yeah.
Is Godwin due?
I mean, it's Godwin's plan,
Ah,
right?
I clap for that.
It's a good joke.
That's good.
But yeah, I don't want to touch Buccaneers receiving.
Broncos.
Broncos. I mean, I don't want to touch any Broncos receiving in this game either. I'm sure all the numbers are set at exactly 0.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They might be 0 for Sunday, too.
So, all that said, can we just skip over touchdown props?
Can I
suck.
see what Gainwell's at just for kicks
Yeah.
and giggles?
What would you like it at before we look?
Plus 200.
Plus 200 for Gainwell. We're looking at a plus 290.
I mean, I kind of not inflated, but it depends how you look at it, but 290, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, so if you like, so Gainwell has no receiving touchdowns. He has 2 rushing touchdowns. It's hard for running backs to get receiving touchdowns, just in general, unless you're Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, you've got to break one.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's very easy to do against the Bucs. The Buccaneers this year, despite all of the receiving production that they've allowed to running backs, they've only allowed receiving touchdowns in 2 games to backs this year. Cordero Patterson had 1, and Myles Gaskin had 2. So that's 3 receiving touchdowns for backs on 42 catches.
So, Nick, I'm going to jump back to Miles Sanders real quick. I want to hear your thoughts on this prop.
Oh, boy.
So, his rushing, like the bands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Longest rush bands. 0 to 9. Plus 175.
I think he'll get like an 11 or 12 yarder, and then a lot of 1 or 2 yarders.
Okay, so what about this? 10 to 19 is minus 105.
It just feels like such a degen thing to put money on.
I mean, do we really think Miles Sanders is going to break a 20-yard run?
No. Absolutely not.
You could bet 1 unit.
What is Kenneth Gainwell longest run 0 to 10 yards?
Let's see. They don't have it.
I don't have it. That's lame. That's lame. Are you looking
It's
at
like-
points bet for that?
Yeah. Well, here's my thinking, Nick. Plus 175. You put a half unit down. Then you put a full unit on. Now then you just break even. You'd have to
Yeah.
do it consistently.
I think that the Sanders rushing yardage is kind of where it should be.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's at 34. I think that's fair market value, finally, for a rushing prop against the Bucks.
Yeah.
All right, so
Final.
we've got just a couple minutes left. Let's get out our favorite picks
Okay.
for the day. So Ben, what is your favorite play of today's game?
Oh man, I got a few I like. I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell under 14.5 rushing yards.
You heard it here first. I like that one quite a bit as well. I'm just gonna take the under, the full game under 53, as
I like
my
it.
favorite play today.
Not trying to get cute with it.
No, not trying to get cute with the rushing props. Although if I were to take a prop, I think the Gainwell rushing under would be my favorite one as well. After that, I probably like the Sanders receiving over as my favorite prop of the day.
You
So-
made some really good points about Gainwell. I mean, there's just a lot of variance with him tonight. I would put it that way.
Yeah, I think the rushing under is actually like it. I know it feels bad saying that, or weird saying that a 14.5 rushing under is like a safe bet, but I really I think it's a safe bet.
Yeah.
It's a defense that just doesn't allow big plays, and his volume is going to be so low.
Yeah, he may only have. I could see him only having 2 carries, like the Panthers game.
Yeah, I mean this is the third one of these this year that I've liked. There was the primetime Dak rushing under that I liked one of those weeks, and that one hit really easily. And then there was the J.D. McKissick rushing under 14.5 last week. That was just in DMs with Ben that I was talking about that. Oh no, actually we did say that on stream. That did make the stream, the Sunday stream. So it's on the record there. But that one hit really easily as well. I think the Gainwell falls in the same boat. I think this is like a no sweat rushing under for Gainwell.
Let's go Gainwell, just not rushing.
Yeah. So it is almost game time. So thank you all, as always, for being here. I just threw a link. You can go watch the game tonight on Twitch. How cool is
Nick,
that?
how do we do that? What is it? What's
Oh, we're not going to go raid Amazon.
Can you?
They should raid us.
They
also-
accidentally ran. They accidentally ran.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
what up?
Just turn the game off. Come to Capwise instead. But yeah, you could go. You don't even have to leave the platform. Just click on the link to the game, and you can watch it right here on Twitch, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and there might be a few other popular Twitch streamers. Guess you could call it commentating the game. There was last week.
Yeah,
But
there
I
should
don't
be.
know how I don't know how you search that, but
You
know.
go to the sports channel and look at people with the most viewers, aka not quite us yet,
it might be.
but we'll get there.
Mertz, whatever.
Yep.
Is it Merks?
Merks, Nick Merks.
Merks. Yeah.
But he is watching the game.
So
but
he's
whatever.
actually like commentating it.
Yeah, they have to give you permission to do that though.
Yeah.
If
We're
they
just
gave
like,
us
"Hey, I
permission,
thought-
we would 100% do it. Show the game and talk about it. That would be
Hey.
cool.
Sometimes the first step is to ask.
Yeah. If you want to go watch it with Nick Merks, here's the link.
He's funny, actually.
He's good friends with Mike Evans.
Mike Evans?
Yeah, Buccaneers Mike Evans. He's wearing a Mike Evans jersey.
I was like, Mike Evans.
But anyways, that wraps up the stream for today. Time to go get those last second bets in. Time to go watch the game. Time to go grab some beer. We will see you all. Ben, I'll see you on Saturday, presumably, for some college football.
We'll be good to go on Saturday.
All right, and then I will be back with Ben on Sunday and Monday for more NFL. So good luck,
All right, guys. Good luck tonight.
See you next time.
See ya.